So some of you will accidentally find your purpose or the areas of your calling.
So if you're single, be deliberate about the considerations that lead to that decision. So, my biggest ambition in life is to die empty. Totally empty. That no talents, no giftings, no opportunities, nothing that I was born to do, that I have the capacity to do, that I do not do.
She is a businesswoman, an author, a motivational speaker. She is the CEO of SOKOA Share Center Limited, a board member of various multinational companies, and currently the chairman of First Bank of Nigeria as at the production of this video. She is Ibukun Awosika, and this is my take on her story. If you find any of her story catchy, leave it on the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe.
My parents had me. My father went off to England to go to school before I was born. He left my mother pregnant with me. My mother had me, and before I was a year old, left to join her husband in England, and I was left with my grandmother. I grew up with my grandmother before my parents came back like 8 years after. Spent my first, from about age 4 or 5, I was sent into a boarding nursery school. I lived in boarding school at a very early age because my parents wanted to protect me from becoming a local Ibadan girl. My first exposure to business was my grandmother's little shop where she sold salt. And I used to love to sit behind her little kiosk and help her to sell the salt. But who knew I was being trained for business in my future, but totally different from the salt that my grandmother was selling. When I was in secondary school, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Then I found out that they work with real dead bodies. I changed my mind very quickly. I then thought, you know what? I'd like to be an architect. I was good in sciences and had a problem if parents sentence you to science when you're good at both. So I ended up in Ife to study chemistry. By the end of my first year, I realized how much I hated chemistry. I could pass it, but I didn't love it. So then I thought, you know, I'd make a good lawyer. I debated throughout school. I used to represent my school in school's debate. So everybody knows that I can win an argument. So I gave it everything trying to change to law. I used to go and sit outside the door of the dean of law. And then one day the man said, come, what do you want? I want to change to law. Is that why you've been sitting outside of my office? Yes, sir. Okay, if I only take one person from another department next year, it will be you. Great. Make sure you pass very well. Well, therein lies my problem. Pass very well, and what will happen? Chemistry will not release me. Fail in chemistry, law will not take me. Catch 99. So, I decided anyway, by the end of that year, I'd changed my mind about law. I decided I wanted to be a chartered accountant so I could go and work in a bank. So I continued with my chemistry, but I started taking free electives in Faculty of Administration and Accounting. When I finished, don't celebrate yet. When I finished for youth service, I did everything to make sure they sent me to an accounting firm. They first sent me to a Muslim school to go and teach. That was easy to solve. I just wore a dress off my shoulder. I went to report. I was immediately rejected. Once they rejected me, I went back to the posting room and waited there for days until they sent me to Akintola Williams & Co. You would have thought that having gone through all that trouble, accounting would be the love of my life. When I got there, within the 1 year of my youth service, I realized how boring accounting is to me. Because they had all the processes somebody else had thought about before. All I had to do was open old dusty files from company to company without imagination or initiative. I'm a very restless human being. That was not going to work. So I finished the work. I did well. They offered me permanent employment, but I said, thank you, but no thank you. Why? Because at that moment, I had come to a realization that that was not the vision for my life.
So I left and came back. Where was I going to? I didn't know. But I knew what I did not want to do. I did not want to be an accountant again. I thought I still wanted to work in a bank. But the first job I could find 1 week after was in a furniture company. So I went there to kill time. My kill time project has resulted in 30 years of investment of my life in building a manufacturing group in furniture. So it was never the plan of my life. So some of you will accidentally find your purpose or the areas of your calling.
I didn't know too much, even as a young Muslim girl. But I knew I wanted to make something of my life. I knew certain things that I sensed. And at the right time, God made sure that He took me over so that I would be able to live the life He had prepared for me. But even before then, I had some small sense that I applied. So somebody likes me, wants to marry me. He's a soldier. I don't want to be no soldier's wife. Not because there's anything wrong with him, but I wanted to have a life. I wanted a family that would be together, and I wanted to have a full career. And as far as I understood it then, they're always moving from one place to the other. Then, at another stage, there was a diplomatic guy, and I thought, I'm no diplomat's wife. Why? Most times, the wives of the diplomats don't work. They follow their husbands to the different stations. They do some work to keep busy when they're in those countries, but they can't have a full career. And I knew I wanted to make something of my life. I didn't really know what it was, but I sensed in my life that I wanted to make something of my life. So I took hard decisions. As a young girl, I said, no, I'm not doing that. Then somebody had a fancy idea that since I was a Muslim girl, and there was somebody who loved me and had plenty of money and everything, I would make somebody's second wife. And I thought, me. I'm nobody's second wife. Somewhere, there's my own husband. And everybody told me, you're too smart and ambitious as a young woman. Most young men can't cope with you. You're going to end up marrying an older person. I said, I don't care. If that's the older person that is called to me, as long as he has the capacity to help me to be me. But God in His wisdom, as I stood, I met the Lord. As I met the Lord, I met my husband months before I met the Lord. Same year. I met my husband in January. I became a Christian months to my wedding. It's true. And in that year, by the end of that year, I gave my life. I got married. What I'm saying is this. It looks like, let me just marry this guy. It's a key success factor in your life. Your ability to be your spouse is key. So if you're single, be deliberate about the considerations that lead to that decision. It's not an emotional decision. It's a practical decision based on your prayers, your discernment, and your ability to look at the situation and make a call. As a young woman of 25, when I was starting my first business, I made up my mind that two things were going to be critical to me. I'm from Nigeria, and there are many things that my country is struggling with in many ways, but we're a great country of great people. I made up my mind two things. I was never going to pay a bribe in order to succeed in my business, nor was I ever going to sleep with a man in order to take an opportunity. Everyone thought I was an idealistic young woman that wasn't going to go too far, holding on to those principles. Well, it's 30 years after. I've built a successful manufacturing group. On top of that, my country got to a point where corporate governance became a major part of the business landscape. And it became important to find people who had not only good technical track record, but people of integrity, of character, and people that could be trusted. Over the period when I'd been building my business, I had built a reputation for those things. I did them for myself, because it was based on what I believe and on my faith as a Christian. And as it got to a point where they became the real tools that everyone was coming for, I got more phone calls and invitations to join boards from multinationals to major corporates than I knew what to do with them. What does that tell us? It's worth fighting for what you believe. It's okay to stand alone, even when nobody else agrees with you. It's all right to believe in something that you know is right, and to stand in every way that you can, no matter what the environment is around you. If the world needs people who have courage of conviction, it is now.
My father became a Christian 2 months to his 60th birthday, having been a Muslim and an Alhaji all his life. It's true. My father is the grandchild of the first Alhaji in the city of Ibadan. He comes from what you call Islamic royalty. So the thought of him accepting Christ, and he did that because we had become Christians. I had become Christians, and my siblings followed me. And somehow one day, God gave us a miracle. And this, my father, that the thought of him in church was just not on the table. We invited him for Father's Day to humor us. He came. And then God spoke through Pastor Taiwo Odukoya, who is my pastor. And something caught his attention, and he left with questions, but never told us, never asked us. But thereafter, he started sneaking to the church. He will come late so that we will not see him, and go and sit at the back because he wanted to hear more. Talon Folu Ashere. It doesn't matter who you are, what you know, who you think you are, what society, whatever position they have attached to you. When God is ready for you, you have no place of escape. My father kept coming. We never saw him. He kept listening. A Sunday at a time. And one day, my pastor, we had a section in church then that people that just speak Yoruba, and I used to stand there and interpret whatever my pastor was saying to the people in one corner. And then, all of a sudden, one day, they made the altar call. I was busy backing the altar, facing my interpretation people. And my father was the first to come out. And then after my own people started coming out and I turned, I'm like, no, can't be. No, not possible. No. No. My father. That's how he gave his life. And so we went to him after. Daddy, what happened? He said, of course he used Shakara for us. He said, there was something the young man said on that day. And I was curious. So I've been coming, you just didn't see me. I'm like, come here. I said, I always come late. Today I came too late that there was no space where I would normally go, and they brought me inside. And that's when it got to a point that something told him, what more do you want to be told before you believe? At that point, he knew the answer. And so he stepped out and gave his life. It was 2 months to his 60th birthday. And my father is a dangerous person in the sense that he can dare anybody. And he knew he was about to go to war by doing that. But his 60th birthday, he decided he was having a service in church. That was the biggest warfare of my family. Because his entire family in Ibadan went to war. But he didn't care. And since then, he hasn't looked back. My father is 85 now. And he was the oldest usher at Fountain, serving as an usher till age 78. He actually fell down in church and had a stroke in church. But he will stand for all the hours that it took to serve as an usher. All I'm saying to you is this. Faith is that choice to walk with a God that you cannot see, but that is worthy to be trusted on a day-by-day basis.
So, my biggest ambition in life is to die empty. Totally empty. That no talents, no giftings, no opportunities, nothing that I was born to do, that I have the capacity to do, that I do not do. I've already written down what will be written on my tombstone. Here lies an empty vessel, totally devoid of anything that I was given to use on this side of God's creation, that she didn't. So when I die, I want to know that I finished the job. So when I'm running a race, I'm not running anybody's race. I'm running my personal race. And I'm running that race with only one teacher and one guide. His name is Jehovah. I'm accountable to only one person, and he's my God. I measure everything that I do by what I perceive is the call of God on my life and the things that are important to him. And if you search your scriptures enough, you will understand what is important to God. Your ways, your character, the way you deal with other people, your ability to take his biggest assignment, which is the gospel, to the ends of the earth and to the creations of his hands. Your ability to engage and influence people for the purpose of God and the good of humanity.
Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to leave on the comment section below any of the story that resonates with you, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share, and turn on the notification bell so you get notified anytime I upload a new video. See you next time.